Yeah, we're gonna talk to you guys about some lesser-known DM tips. All three of us have DM'd for a while. We have some nice fun little nuggets to throw your way. Let's start by introducing everyone. Michelle, you wanna?
Oh boy.
No pressure, you're first.
Michelle Amaryllis Weatherby, first of her name. So my name's Michelle. I've been DMing for like 3 years. I've been playing for 3 years. But I've also Yep.
I need an abacus for that.
Yep. And my background is in acting and technical theater, so a lot of character creation and role-playing I've been doing for a while. And I also played RuneScape as a child, so
Hell yeah, brother.
Clearly qualified.
Even a little overqualified with your theater acting
it's
experience.
Well, I was thinking the RuneScape. That's
yeah.
You're
on the next level.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't even be here.
Listen,
I got up
let's
to
go.
like level 30 in chopping down trees, so.
Listen, we've all sold lumber in Lumberage, so.
Yeah.
Do you have any socials you want to plug?
Yeah, I am Embius on Twitter and Instagram. It's on our little. Oh, let's see if I can. Am I
Catch the
holding it
overlay?
yet?
No, down.
No, you gotta go way down.
Way
Way
down.
down, okay.
Like, almost navel.
Yeah, like here.
Yeah, there you go. And then...
It's right here, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, go follow Michelle. She's great.
Oh, Higby's hand.
Oh, and Higsby's hand. Whoa, Higsby's hand on Instagram. Also Twitter, mostly Instagram. That's HIGGSBEES on Instagram. We paint minis, and they're super awesome.
Fantastic, they are.
Oh, why thank you. Why thank
You're
you, kind
welcome.
sir.
My name is Ted.
Oh,
I play Gideon. I like voices, and that's about it. That's my qualifications.
that's
All right, thanks, Ted.
You're welcome. Great. I've been playing D&D for like 18 years. I have been DMing off and on for like 12 of it, but I have been really DMing solidly and barely playing, except for here, for like 7 years or something. So I got quite a bit of experience as player, DM, and everything in between, like background actor and ensemble cast, whatever. My socials, Sagecraft Designs on Instagram, and my Etsy shop. I make cool shit, unrelated to D&D, but I can make cool D&D stuff, and I want to.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he makes
Yeah.
really cool stuff in general.
Am I forgetting anything?
Show off some of your cool stuff.
Oh.
Hey,
I see
you
you're
got
wearing-
rings on. You got
I got
bling.
rings and all of my necklaces and like, you know, my dignity. I made that too. Like, it took a lot of work. A lot of work.
Can you make mine?
Having dignity in
Sure.
2021.
I need
what the
some.
fuck?
Sure. I got some extra fabric at home.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And Nick, tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Nick. All right, let's start. No.
Hello, Nick.
Yeah, so I have been, playing D&D for, I think, near 20 years now, on and off. I've been DMing for 3 to 4. Time isn't real. So,
Time is fake.
yeah, honestly, I love DMing personally. It's I enjoy it way more than player. I enjoy playing, but yeah, DMing is where I'm
Me too.
where I'm at.
I love DMing.
I feel that.
Yeah, and I actually run a DM resource Instagram/website called The Bounty Board. So go follow that on Instagram. It's got a bunch of random encounters you can pull if you need something in a pinch. And yeah.
It is a great resource. I've actually used it a little bit towards my game. Just like ideas that inspire me.
Bitch.
I know, right?
Bitch.
Bitch. Oh. So let's jump into this. What are we doing?
Yeah, let's get in on this. So, that's all of us.
It feels so unusual with just 3.
It does. It is a little weird.
Yeah.
I suppose we should talk about the game quick, briefly.
Yeah. Let's
Oh
bring it
yeah,
up.
that game we play.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally on Mondays, we also have a D&D game.
5 p.m. Eastern time.
5 p.m. Eastern. Where we're doing a campaign set in Eberron. It's run by Savage. He's a fantastic DM and a wonderful person.
Savage DM.
And also,
Savage as fuck.
Also missing from here are Breezy, Mackenzie, and Dynamic Sandwich, Cameron. Cameron streams on weekends and weeknights playing video games.
Video game?
And Mackenzie has a fun side project, Pixis Arcana, where she does crazy artwork. So go check that out too. Okay, that was a lot of downloads.
We should like really jump into things.
Yeah, we should jump into things. I mean, technically we're only a minute late. Just saying.
Oh, right.
But
cool.
So yeah, we're gonna start off talking about what the concept of a lesser-known DM tip is. I know that seems like a strange thing to kind of talk about briefly, but you know, some of these might seem very obvious to you, some of them might not. But that's kind of the thing. There are a bunch of tips out there that people don't necessarily think of until it's kind of thrown in their face, and it can really, like, there's a bunch of little things you can do to really enhance your DMing experience.
What's obvious to you might be a revelation to others. I said that earlier, and I like that phrase. I'm sticking with it.
It's a great phrase.
It's the word revelation.
Revelation.
Revelations 420.
Word.
So yeah, I guess let's start off talking about like general tips. General tips. One of the bigger things, and again, some of this may seem very obvious, but organization is and I mean this is kind of a general life tip too. The more organized you are, the more streamlined your life is going to be. Michelle, you had a lot of thoughts on this. You want to?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it, which is great because I also have like adult ADHD and I'm wildly unmedicated, so I'm very bad at organizing.
Wildly unmedicated.
So one of my favorite things to do is to print out my resources, especially the things that I'm going to need at the table. I like bundling up characters and their spell lists and what they need, so it's easily accessible. I am technology illiterate. It takes me a very long time to figure something out on a computer, so it's great to have it right there in front of me. And another thing that I love, lists. Lists aren't exactly a lesser-known DM tip. A lot of people use lists for names and cities, but I like to go a little more in-depth. If you're going to meet a character, I like having a list for character traits, what they're afraid of, how they hold themselves, just a lot of things that will let you get a very quickly flushed-out character. So say your character is looking for a shopkeeper and you don't have a shopkeeper available, you can take a look at your list. There's an accent. It says Scottish. There's a Scottish accent. He's a little twittery, so he's a little nervous, and he's deathly afraid of cats. So if you've got a tabaxi in your party, you better watch out. So just having a list of things that you can quickly reference can really quickly help you build a very dynamic character in a very short amount of time.
That's some really good advice.
Yep, absolutely.
A list I like to make is various encounters that are level appropriate and fit your world. Just like every time my players level, I just like to make a bunch of encounters and just keep it in a list so that if they go in a direction I'm not expecting, or like I need to fill out a session in a way I wasn't prepared for, I can be like, suddenly monsters, or a wagon has been knocked over on the road, and that can lead into a good roleplay encounter. Just like prepare things to fill times when you don't know that you have things to put in it, if that makes sense. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
And if Nick will allow me, I'd love to bounce off of that into a different topic. If that's
I do have one thing on organization quick that I want to throw in. Something I do that I feel works pretty successfully. I have kind of a rolling Google Doc where I'll plan out the session a little bit, and then at the bottom take notes throughout the session. And then when I'm going to plan the next one, I just literally duplicate that, erase out the stuff that was covered, and just have, oh dear God. We just got a bunch of gift subs. Thank you so
thanks.
much.
Hey,
Thank you. Wow.
that's really kind.
Jordan, you madman.
Damn.
But yeah, having kind of a rolling Google Doc where you have all your notes from last session right there is very, very helpful to me, at least. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh boy, I had a thought. It's gone.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Just talking about like role-playing encounters and just having encounters.
Yeah. Fuck, I had a thought for you.
This is why lists are important.
Notes, that's what it was. So, there are different types of learning styles. I am very bad at taking notes, so if you're not great at taking notes, sometimes just recording a session would be awesome. That's bouncing off of Nick. Bouncing off of Ted, or Gideon. So, the encounter list you just mentioned, that included things that weren't necessarily battles.
Yes.
Which brings me to say that encounters don't need to be battles. They could just be like role-play scenarios, and also not every situation is going to be appropriate for your characters. Sometimes you're going to come across a situation where y'all just need to book it. As worlds are worlds, and not everything is going to be exactly tailored for your characters. I like throwing things in that are just like wildly overpowered for mine, because like if you're a level 5 character, everything you come across isn't going to be something you can easily crush.
True. That's
and
a good
just
point.
Introducing that type of variety really helps to build a dynamic world, I think.
Maybe have 2 lists: level appropriate and fuck run appropriate.
Yeah. And then maybe have them like roll. So if it's a natty 1, there's a fuck run.
Yeah, let's hope the dice are with you.
No, I mean, in that vein too, kind of leading off of that, having, for lack of a better term, cutscenes is not something you should do often, but you should sprinkle them in sometimes, assuming that that's something you want to do. Obviously, it's your game, you should do whatever you want. But yeah, having it set up so like, yeah, you bring in your big bad and they just annihilate this NPC who's been shown to be strong already will really just help set the tone on that big bad as far as like power scaling and the full mood for them in general.
Can I jump off of that real fast? So I really love open world concepts. I think those are awesome. But at the same time, I feel like the roleplay community has sort of demonized railroading. But railroading in itself isn't inherently bad. I feel like a lot of people have experienced it in bad ways, but it could be a very useful tool in progressing the narrative.
Well, railroading people think of as one channel to take, one set of tracks, but have multiple tracks that you're aware of. And just let your players choose the general direction they're going, but have a flow. Know where you want them to end up.
Yeah.
And just let them go along that track, whatever track it is.
Say your characters have taken a quest to rescue some person in distress, right? And they've really empathized with the person who's given them the quest, and they're really motivated. If they show up right as that person dies, that's an instance of railroading that'll really spark emotions and get people to become way more invested in the game.
Perfect example of that in media, Agent Coulson dying in Avengers. That really tied them together.
Good example.
Railroading. Jesus Christ, Jordan. Thank you, Jordan.
Please.
Railroading in very, very small doses is an excellent tool that should get used more. But yeah, making sure your players are okay with that is obviously the number one thing.
On the subject of making sure your players are okay, moving along with this, I like to always make sure I'm keeping track of my quietest player or the quieter players, because they are often overlooked for those who are loud or power gamers or like just trying for all of your attention. Make sure everybody gets a chance to be in the spotlight. And if you engage with your quieter players, they're going to be super into it most of the time. Unless they're like really, really introverted and can't talk. If they're having that trouble to play, that's a whole different story. But You like make sure they feel included. It'll mean the world to them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And even if they're like not super strong role players, just including something like a dream that they had and that they alone had could go miles.
Yeah, make them feel special to the story.
Yeah.
Because that's really important.
Well, oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Kind of backing up a little bit too, making sure you talk to your players. Don't be afraid to be honest to your players, like blatantly so. I feel like this is something that's kind of shied away from in the DM space as well, but like sometimes you just can't figure out the good way to do it through the RP. Just blatantly say what you're thinking to your players, and they will appreciate that.
Yeah. Or even just taking the time that you need, because many times players will completely destroy what you've planned for the evening.
Oh, yeah.
So something I've actually done before when I was DMing in college, and there was like plenty of food options around all the time, and we also had board games. So if I had a situation where I suddenly needed to plan something new for the game and I couldn't be multitasking running and planning something, I would actually say, well, let's just take a quick break, everyone grab food, and we'll have a quick game of Cards Against Humanity on the table while I figure this out.
Nice.
And that way it gets people fueled and continuing to engage. So oftentimes they'll come back with a higher sense of engagement and energy, and I will have had the time to make the adjustments appropriate.
Yeah, I do a break like a little bit over the halfway mark in my game, and I try to set the pacing anyway so that it's like building and building and building, and then they have this moment before the break, and that gives us all time to like go get food, use the bathroom, and get excited for what's coming next. So I always try to like after the break come back at that big moment so that they're all fueled and energized and ready to go.
That's something that I see Sav doing a lot.
Yeah,
in
he's
our
good
game.
at that.
He, through some sort of magical being power, he happens to end every single game on something of a cliffhanger. Even if it's like a small personal detail, it's enough to get us all riled and ready for the next game.
Yeah, because when the cameras shut off, we're usually yelling at him like, "Oh my God, Sav, wah!"
And there's usually a lot of just like, is this happening? Is that happening? Is this happening? Which is also great as a DM to pay attention to, because you may have awesome ideas. Your players might have better ideas.
They often do.
May very well might. Yeah.
I find that as a DM, we get caught up in like the view of what we're seeing, you know, and there's this whole world around us that we're not paying attention to. And sometimes your players will come out of left field and just have like a great idea, and maybe you sneak that into your game, and when it happens, they feel so vindicated.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was right, and they get really happy. And then you just put on your best poker face, and you're like, I know.
It was
And,
that the whole time.
Yeah.
And along the same line, if you've forgotten something and what you were thinking of happening doesn't actually tie in, like if your character's just like, well, that couldn't have happened because 6 games ago, they got married, and that's a thing that wasn't, that you can use that and just make sure that your story is a little more compact and streamlined and makes sense.
Yeah, just mold it in. Your story is clay. Just mold it into a beautiful vase. Put flowers in it.
Oh yeah.
Your flowers are your players.
Oh yeah. And actually, kind of in that vein, there's a lot of ways to make. Fuck it, let's use that. There's a lot of ways to make a vase. Just remember, this is your vase, and yeah, there are a lot of rules. The rules are there for a reason. They're a good guideline to go off of, but don't be afraid to change or tweak them. Just make sure you're clearly communicating that to your players. Because there's maybe things you don't agree with. Like, in my campaign, we have a wild magic sorcerer, and we kind of completely overhauled all of the wild magic sorcerer entirely because neither of us were satisfied with how it plays. And that's fine. That's A-okay. Feel empowered to do that. Feel empowered to be like, hey, I think this would be a very cool thing for your character or for your player. Just don't be afraid.
Yeah. Another thing that it's not exactly overlooked, but sometimes you could just be having a bad day, and not have the energy to plan out a whole game or even just like the mood in the room is low. So I see a lot of success in doing like a few quick warm-ups before the game, and also just taking an improv night and just doing whatever, like some crazy side quest, do something wild, have a giant worm rodeo or something.
That brings up 2 points for me. Improv is always the concept of like, yes, and whatever they say, like, yes, and then this. I like to add in no but, because sometimes your players are going to do something that is so fucking impossible that, like, it can't happen. But here's what does happen. Some crazy shit around it. So, for instance, one of my players once tried to, like, go and blatantly steal something off of somebody, but they couldn't do it. They just, like, couldn't get there and do it. So they kept trying and kept trying. They were getting frustrated. And it's, no, that doesn't happen. But here's what happened is you see that something falls out of their pocket, and then you pick that up, and you just, like, move the storyline along. You can't always do yes and. Because sometimes the players are just fucking nuts.
Yeah. And also, jumping off of that, setting expectations for players in the beginning is a really healthy thing to do. If you want to have a very serious campaign, make sure your players are on board. Otherwise, no one's going to be having fun.
I have a big tip about that unless you want to go.
Oh, I just want to, in case you guys haven't noticed, a lot of this stems from just talking to your players and communicating clearly.
Communication.
And organization.
Communication should be the number one tip. Always. In relationships, in games, in work, in everything. Just communicate effectively.
Yeah.
Anyways, this has turned into a life advice podcast.
I'm qualified to give life advice. I live.
Yeah.
Most of the time I'm alive. Every once in a while I just conk out there for a second. At session 0, which I think is an important thing to have, I always like to make sure to ask the players what they're hoping to get out of this game. Whether it be like, some of them really like to see a lot of battles, some like a lot of roleplay, some really want secrets and intrigue that they have to deal with. Most recently, the campaign I'm running is an evil-themed campaign, which, okay, that's hard. Evil-themed campaigns get off the rails real easy.
Oh boy.
But at the beginning, I had asked them, what do you hope to see by the end of the campaign? And a few of them brought up, and everybody agreed with, they want to work so hard that they can be the villains for the next campaign. That's their big goal. So I've been making this campaign happen with that in my background, like in the background of my mind, and a lot of them have forgotten that was their driving force. And now they're at the point where they're starting to become like the big bads themselves. And they may very well be the villains of the next campaign if they don't completely fuck up this one. Who knows? Yeah, that's about it on that.
No, I think that was very, very well put.
Thanks.
I've been itching to bring this one up because I cannot stress enough how fucking important this is. Music. Oh my god. Music. Music. Please use it. There is a massive difference between a table that uses music and a table that doesn't. And in that same vein, using music well. For example, the music so far has been pretty chill, but if we go from this to like this one, which is very doom and gloom while we're just talking about DM tips, kind of breaks the mood.
If the players don't fuck up the next campaign.
Oh god, they will. They always do.
They always do.
Yeah, count on your players always fucking up your plans, but roll with it.
Yes.
Because it's a good thing, often. It's fun, because then you can, like, go down a road you weren't expecting, and your players will be more engaged. And when we're talking about music, audio tracks in general. So a resource I like to use, DM's Guild online, they have a lot of audio tracks and music that just, like, people make. And I did a haunted house, like, horror story once, and so I went on there and I bought, for, like, $2, a whole soundtrack of creepy house music and sounds where like boards are creaking and you can hear lightning and thunder in the distance and all the creepy sounds.
Yeah.
And that worked to great effect. Versus like, I just put on spoopy music and sometimes that works. often it doesn't, you know?
Well, also, like, along that track, voices are great. Voices are awesome for getting your characters involved. If you can't do an accent or a voice, that's okay. Just modulating just how your tone is or your speed. There are also voice changers online that you could buy and speak into. So if you need that super deep dragon voice, but you are a 5'1" girl, you could go online and find that.
Oh, please, you could do a scary dragon voice. Yeah, see?
Oh, I got a good scary dragon voice. It's real deep. It hurts my throat, though. Should I do it?
Do it.
Do it.
All right, so
Do it.
the line is, Gartokar, you didn't say we'd be having surfacers for dinner tonight, but...
Gartokar, you didn't say I'd be having surfacers for dinner tonight.
Ugh.
I had to do that, and it's a whole, like, hour-long thing. And by the time I was done, I was like,
Would you like to roll initiative? I'm gonna need a minute.
oh, if you do a lot of voices, tea with honey. Fucking drink it.
Throat coat. If you could go online and buy a box of throat coat, it is tea. You steep it and you drink it. It's amazing. It's...
Yeah, even if you just do ginger, honey, lemon tea, like throw all of those in a pot with hot water, that's great for your throat. It's going to make a world of difference because sometimes after DMing for like 6 to 7 hours with a lot of voices, even none of them particularly hard, just a lot of voices.
Yeah.
The next morning I wake up and I sound like I've been smoking for 40 years.
Even for like acting and voice acting, that's like one of our things. If you steaming, throat coat, and also just taking a vow of silence for a day, guys.
Yeah. I play on Saturdays and some Sundays I don't talk. Just sort of give up.
I mean, taking a vow of silence anyways. Just for funsies.
Well, we shouldn't do that now, because that wouldn't make a very
No.
entertaining stream.
Well, I don't know about that.
If we all just stare intensely at all the cameras the whole time.
Hi, thanks for coming to our staring show.
Also, voices. If you're doing voices, practice, 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 practice. You're in the car, you're on a long drive, just be freaking weird, man.
Yep.
Every single sign you see, just be practicing and
Michelle and I do that.
re-listening.
We've done that together at
Yeah.
work before, many
Yeah.
times.
We've done
Do it with
that
your
at
friends
work.
too. It's fun.
In the car, I will sit in my car for hours driving to my parents' house, like, hi, I'm Barbie. Hi, I'm Barbie. Do you think you're going to get away with that, do ya? Like, it'll be just all sorts of different things. Just practice.
I like to do that with my villain voices because then you can try out dialogue for fun
Oh, yeah.
and see how terrifying it sounds. Like my villain Cyphus is yes, you've come here today, the day you're going to die. Does that sound really threatening? Kind of. So I would try 100 different versions of it. And it's really fun because 1, you're practicing the voice, and 2, you're like practicing fun dialogue that actually sticks.
It's got kind of a Godfather vibe. You come to me on this,
You come
the
to
day
me.
that you're gonna die.
The day of my daughter's wedding.
Oh, laughs too. Laughs are always fun.
Oh,
Throw in
yeah.
creepy laughs. Or just like funny laughs.
Sound
Hey,
effects.
normalize practicing your supervillain laugh.
Please.
Just gonna throw that out there.
Also, we didn't discuss this beforehand. Little known DM tip for an entire group. Screaming before a stream.
Oh, yeah. We at Heretical Heroes do that. It was her
Primal
idea.
rage, primal scream therapy. It really just pumps up a stream. If you ever see us tune in and everyone's just like, well, that happened, it's because we were screaming a lot.
And even if you don't want to scream primally, just scream in a funny way because then it lightens the mood for you. It makes
Yeah.
you laugh. You know, not everything has to be super serious.
Yes.
I got a request in chat by Savage.
Hey, Savage.
Yes!
Yeah, I'll kind of preface this a little bit. Playing up your NPCs' traits in general, especially like racial traits, if you have a certain identity with like gnolls, for example, all of the gnolls in my setting just kind of sprinkle in laughs throughout their conversation. So if there's a gnoll shopkeeper
Yeah.
and you're coming in and you're like, Oh, I need...
Hi, I need to buy some potions and possibly a +1 dagger.
What kind of potions are you looking for?
Oh God! Yes, so, are you okay, sir?
Yeah, what do you need?
Just some potions of speed if you have them.
Oh, I got those.
Oh. Notice how the player is now unsettled, and you can use that to your advantage.
Oh, yes.
I like your gnolls. They creepy.
Oh, yes. And just bring in, like, physicalities, too. Some people lead with their chest. Some people are a little more hunched over. Some people try to make themselves look small, even if they're big. And some people try to make themselves look big, even if they're small. Really just play that out. I know Savage was doing something super cool with Mokton, where he was just elevated and quiet, and his voice, it was so cool. It was so cool.
Your posture changes your voice directly.
Can we just gush about how good of a job Savage is
Savage,
doing
we
real
love
quick?
you.
Oh my
fucking love you.
fucking god. Savage, you have been destroying it. Like, absolutely annihilating it. Fucking...
I know. I think about his session so much.
I will, at work, because a lot of us work together. At work, I will just go up to people and just be like, what do you think that meant? Is he dead? Do you think that guy's my father? Like, all week.
Oh my
Oh
god.
boy. Okay.
Anyway.
Wow, we have been all over the place. We completely lost our structure, which is fine.
What
That's
structure?
fine. Because,
Never
again,
heard of it.
your players will ruin your structure.
Yeah,
See,
just roll with it.
It's all part of the theme. Alright, we pulled the veil. Yeah, no, absolutely. Compliment your DM, because they don't hear it enough. And they almost always put a lot of work into their campaign.
Yeah. Don't take them for
ensure
granted.
you're having a good job.
When
You're having a good job, what the fuck?
when you have a good job. Good job has you. Yeah, make sure you're showing them a little bit of appreciation. It is a lot of hard work. And there was a period of time where I was feeling super unappreciated because nobody was saying anything. And so I really thought they weren't having fun. Turns out they were having a great time. They just weren't talking about it. So, like, check in with your players. It's okay to say, like, hey, did you guys have fun? Like, was that a good one? But don't do it every session.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it when you think you really need it.
Yeah.
And as players, throw it out there. I got a text one day from one of my players, like in the middle of the week, because he was just thinking about the game and he was so happy with a choice I made, and he texted me. And that made my whole fucking day. They love me. They really love me.
And also, like, as a DM, compliment your players.
Hell yeah.
They're putting a lot of work into this too, and it shows.
Like, Sav does the inspirations, which are fun.
Yes.
You know, give inspiration out. Like, they do something funny, they make a good pun, because we like puns around here. Or we don't, but we do. We do. It's like, embrace it. Make people feel appreciated, because it's more fun that way.
Yes.
100%. 100%.
105%.
110%.
On the topic of,
120.
like, all right, you two. Come on.
130.
1 million.
In this house, we don't go beyond 100%. We never give 110. All right? I'm barely giving 80 half the time.
Speak for yourself.
No, you're always giving 110%, Nick. You're amazing.
I don't know. I don't know how to not.
So, on the subject of the inspiration, Savage gives out tokens. He has, like, actual physical tokens, which is great. That brings up props. I want to talk about that a little.
Yep.
Props can be very important. I like to have a printed map that I get. Like, you can make it, you can find one. I like to handwrite notes and give them to people. And if you can't handwrite worth shit, I mean, find one of your friends who can, because if you have nerdy friends and you ask them to make a creepy note, they're gonna have fun with it.
Oh yeah.
Like, lean into that. But a type of prop that I really appreciate that nobody uses: natural resources around you. So I had a map that I put out for my previous game where, like, they were in this big stone building and there was a lot of wood and a ship had crashed into it, like an airship. So there's a lot of debris and stuff. I went outside. I found a bunch of broken sticks and twigs and a big thing of, like, gravelly sized rocks. And I went on the map and I placed it like terrain and debris. And now they have a 3D model that they can be like, oh, I'm going to hide behind that fallen tree.
Yeah.
They also just have this really cool map. And all you have to do is just get one of those, like, printed grid ones and throw stuff on it.
When we're talking about props, I love props. that was my job for a very long time. Was I just made props for theaters.
No one knows props like you.
Well, a lot of people do.
Nobody in this room knows props like you do.
But also, costumes, sets. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, but if you have a character, one of my favorite tropes, is I pull it straight from Avatar every single time, is having a shopkeep in some weird backwater village that like jumps behind the counter and puts on a different hat and suddenly he's someone else. I like to have those hats.
That is not where I thought you were going. I thought you were, my cabbages!
I thought that too, so I like the hats though.
Yeah, so like little things like that, and
that's my brother
and
Lane.
especially like doing up your lighting and your set so you could really just take a moment and just forget the world.
If you have the space for it, put a little effort into the stuff around you, because the space will make all the difference. My brother just set up his basement for our play space, and so we're putting up like medieval style wall sconces that are really cheap on Amazon, the ones with like the fake paper flame.
You'll have to send me that link.
I'll get it from him. Like, we're doing that. We have like this big fake dragon head we found on the wall. We just got stuff that makes it feel more like you're in that space. And sure, it's silly, but D&D is inherently silly. Lean into it. Be silly.
And something else to remember. This is a game.
Yeah.
We're playing a game to have fun with friends. Just
Maybe you are.
Do you live this 24/7? Are you always Balric?
Just have fun.
For those of you who don't know, that was very in character.
But yeah, if things go terribly wrong all night, but your players still had fun and you had fun, that's a win.
Yeah, I've had quite a few sessions where nothing went as planned. It was all crazy, but at the end of it, we're all laughing and happy with how it went. Then that's a win. It's always a win.
Yep, absolutely. No, and that kind of segues into another one of the points we had, which is like, you're going to have a rough plan. It's going to be there. Don't make that the letter of the law. Be like, hey, here's what I'd like to accomplish. It's never going to go exactly like that. And that's fine. That's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
What is generally not fine is if you go, here's how I want things to go, and then the players go, oh, actually, we circumvented it in this way, and then you're still like, no, that's still happening. Generally. Railroading is sometimes fine.
That's railroading without multiple tracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's that one road you're taking.
Yep.
Railroading is best if there's a ton of tracks and then they all converge in one tiny spot and then they all split out again.
Sorry, I just read chat. Also, my personal DM tip, don't send ice cave spiders after level 1 players read through the whole monster manual entry. Probably the
Or
most...
do, and then go off of that.
Honestly, I kind of love doing that. Not like a situation where your characters can't escape, but real worlds have things everywhere. Like, I'm not gonna survive if I, as like a real life CR 0.5 person, walk into a wood and there's like a bear there. So I know that I need to leave. Sometimes that's a lesson that your characters need to learn.
How did you get a whole 0.5 CR? I'm sitting
pretty
over here as a
strong.
0.
I'm pretty strong. I'm pretty strong.
I'm a 1000 CR. Nothing can stop
Well,
me.
you've been alive since, like, the world was created. So
Oh, I'm older than the
Since
world.
the dawn of time, Theodore existed.
you danced with
I,
Jesus
my-
and Plato and Aristophanes.
Jesus is a fantastic two-stepper.
Yeah.
He can fucking
Wow.
dance. Is this
Damn.
getting offensive? I'm not sure yet. On the subject of, like, sometimes there's just big things you can't prevent. It doesn't always have to be a TPK. Like, if your players all die, maybe they didn't all die. Maybe they were all knocked unconscious and wake up captured and you move in a different direction. Maybe they do all die and they end up in a different world, a different, like, spirit world or hell or something, and they battle their way out. If you really like the characters, you don't want it to end there. It doesn't have to. Just make it seem like you meant to do it all along.
Having a backup plan is that's so good. I've had one for a very long time. If all of the players at my table get TPK'd and they want to keep playing, they're all waking up. They're gonna find themselves somewhere very different, and they're gonna have to figure out how to get out of that.
Poor people. I like to do, outside of my regular D&D campaign, I like to just do a storytelling night from time to time so that I'm not suffering as much burnout from playing the game over and over and over. And if I need like a creative break, I mean, you were saying earlier, play Cards Against Humanity, do something else. I like to do my horror night where I tell a horror story in the perspective of all the players playing themselves. So Michelle would be Michelle with Michelle's abilities and Michelle's knowledge.
No, we're not doing that.
It's fun. It's scary.
You're strong now.
No.
Yeah, you're getting swole. What are you talking about? But I do that, and my players, they still talk about it. Months and months later. I did one like 2 years ago. They're still talking about it.
Yeah.
Because they had so much fun. It was just a break. It was interesting. And when you're playing yourself, there's real repercussions.
Yeah.
To like, your character doesn't have healing magic. Because it's you. Unless you have healing magic. Do you have healing magic? Can you... I have this growth. Could you take care of that?
But that's awesome. Having break nights like that, especially when you, in your main campaign, you are doing something where you need all of your players, and say one of your players calls out for a week. I love having one-shots. And my personal thing with long campaigns is having it be like semi-serious, also with some levity. But then in one-shots, you could do whatever you want. There's no rules. You start off with like 3 awesome items, and then just like, if someone can come up with a creative way to do something, like say they chose an eagle as one of their items, and this actually happened once. I had a ridiculous campaign where one of my characters like chose an eagle as one of his items, and they went underground, and for a while he was just like, well, I can't use my eagle since I left him above ground. And then later he was just like, I take off my cloak and my eagle flies out from underneath it. And I was like, yes, that's fine.
You ran with it, and it made it more fun, didn't it?
Well, the only thing... Did he roleplay the eagle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then it's fine. Then...
If you don't have time to prep or plan for a one-shot, though, my group likes to do a battle royale. Where everybody plays as either their characters or they make a new character at a set level. Like, we all agree, all right, tonight we're going to do a battle royale at level 17, and everybody gets these, like, 3 purple, 4 blue, 5 green, whatever. Just, like, let them choose. And then duke it out. It's fun. And what I do is the winner gets an inspiration die, a fate die, that lasts the whole campaign. They can use it that one time, anytime in the campaign. And it has resulted in some amazing moments in D&D, like in the games. Try it. It's fun.
Honestly, battle royales are just a great way to strengthen your skills as a DM anyway.
Yeah.
I have with one of our coworker, Dave, I've stayed late with him and gone on D&D Beyond and hit the randomize feature on create a character for like a level 20 character.
That is such a shit show.
We will sit there and we will duke it out as our level 20, his level 20 barbarian, my level 20 wizard, monk, ranger.
Nuts. Fucking nuts.
Hey, underutilized DM tip. Don't generate NPCs with the randomize, because it's
Don't do it.
Use your list to make a random one. Don't use the randomizer.
It'll do like a fucking wild magic sorcerer with sentinel. It'll do wild shit that makes no fucking sense.
It's real colorful, though.
But at the same time, maybe do it. And just sprinkle that one character in there. Just in the woods somewhere. They come across a character who's like multi-classed into like 6 different classes. Just do it. There are no rules.
There are no rules.
My rule is the rule of cool. That's it.
Yep.
You know? Everything else is guidelines.
Yep, totally fair.
Go on, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to kind of say that segues a little perfectly into make sure your campaign is dynamic. Like, all of the surrounding area should feed into the environment to some degree. I'm very much of the mindset that there should be no encounters, and this might be controversial, so bear with me.
Bring it on.
Uh,
I'm getting my torch ready.
I'm very much of the mindset that there should be no encounters that don't serve a purpose, whether that purpose is world building, or directly tied to a storyline they're in, or directly tied to the main story. I don't feel like there should be any useless encounters in there.
I will argue that and say that I don't believe that useless encounters exist.
That's more where I'm at.
I think all encounters do serve a purpose, whether or not it be just world building or just immersing the characters a little bit.
I will say there are times when you're just like, oh, I'm going to throw a combat in here for the sake of a combat, not because, oh, I'm going to throw in this group of shifters that are trying to rob you to feed into that.
My view, though, is if someone is of the mindset, I'm going to throw this combat in there for the sake of a combat, they have permanently altered their world into becoming a little more of a dangerous place.
Sure.
So that's just something that's going to change the player's perception of the world and how they act. I don't think there is such thing as a useless combat. I understand what you're talking about, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm more on where you're at with that. Like, outside of combat encounters, let the players just run into random people who don't really serve a bigger purpose in the storyline, because one, it makes them feel more connected to the world, and two, you can just make a fun, interesting character. And if you decide to bring them back in later, your players now have like a friend, a connection, or an enemy just somewhere out there.
Or a frenemy.
Or a frenemy. Or just like that bitch Becky from down the street. Either way, I mean, Becky.
And that's something that it just makes your world so rich. If you can just go place to place and just have threads that connect everything to everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone in this town you go to mentioned somebody from a town you were just in.
Players love
So
that.
good.
Yeah, getting that conspiracy theory. Getting the scene where it's Charlie in the mailroom, just like red yarning everything together, talking about Pepe Sylvia.
That's what we want.
I do love those moments. I love to sit and listen to my players after a game. We're all just chilling, and they're talking about all the crazy that happened, and all of the crazy they think is going to happen. And you mentioned that earlier. Just like pay attention to what they're saying.
Yes.
It's just really rewarding. More than anything, it's super rewarding. And take the small victories where you can, because those add up. Don't look for the big, perfect victory. Take the small ones. It's how I live my life. Lowered expectations.
But that's very that's a good way to live.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Also in world building, I find that there's usually people who are in one of two camps. Either you're starting very big, very world, big picture, and then working down to small picture, which has its own merits and uses. Or you're starting very small picture and working big picture. So big picture to small would be, okay, well, this is the universe, this is how it was created, this is why it's created, these are the worlds, and then so on and so forth, which I think is excellent for building a complex universe. Sometimes you just need to play. So when you just need to play, going small to big is awesome, because you're going to start with, well, this is a character they're meeting, this character needs to work somewhere, so here's the bar, here's the tavern, and then well, they walked outside, so we need a street and a town, and this is you just build outward. If you are in a pinch, start small to big, and if you need to tie things from different parts of your campaign together, going big to small is excellent. So I really like utilizing both of those mindsets.
Both are important. I have a tendency to just like pick one big plot line that I'm hoping, and it's very, very lightly fleshed out. It's just sort of like, this big bad wants to do this thing, and then build off of that. But I start right at the beginning, very small. You know, they're in a room, what is the room? And sometimes I like to just come up with NPCs and find a reason for them to be there. I've come up with this fun NPC, I want to play them. Maybe they're shopkeep. Maybe they're just like a mercenary you find on the road. Whatever reason, find a way to fit them into the story, and you're going to write a whole bunch of story around them just because you want them to be there.
Yeah.
Like, all of that results in world building. Every tool in your arsenal, use it.
Yep. No, yeah, I find looking at the big picture first helps inform a lot of those decisions. Because if I'm like, okay, they're going to be going to this town at some point for this reason, well, what needs to be there for that reason to exist, and then what needs to evolve off of that and off of that and off of that, and then eventually you just have a whole ass town.
Yep.
I think the crux of this is no matter which method you're choosing, you're just sort of saying,
Yeah.
why?
Yes.
Why is this?
Why
well, because
is-
of this. But why is that?
Is such a strong, wonderful, beautiful question.
Yeah,
If
always
you
ask
don't
yourself
know what
why.
to do, just ask why. My personal favorite way of going is going big to small to a certain point. I'll go like very rough, big to small, and then as soon as I have the general gist of what this universe, this world is about, then I'll go small to big, and I'll start in one town until that town is flushed out, and I'll also have like names of different towns and like a sentence about them. And once the characters are like, well, we gotta go to this town, then we're starting from the top, small to big again. Yeah. One thing that going kind of world building, kind of character creation that I don't think a lot of people in the RPG community do, but a lot of people in the acting world do. Just go outside and people watch.
Yes, always.
People watching is so informative and so useful, and if you can travel and people watch and see how people in different areas have a pattern. Like, I'm from a little town in Connecticut, but I moved up here to Massachusetts, and just seeing how driving is different is really interesting. One thing that we do in our county in Connecticut, if you see a deer in the road or a cop, everyone will flash their blinkers twice as you're driving away from whatever that is, just to warn other people. But I don't see that happening here at all.
I love the absolute polarization. Either a deer or a cop.
Or a deer in a cop's uniform.
Oh my god.
But that's just like a thing that
Agent Rudolph.
happened my whole childhood, and it's just not here anymore.
No, yeah, absolutely.
I find that the same is true of terrain.
Yeah.
Like, I hike a lot. So when I'm in the woods, I'm paying attention to the way that the trees sit with each other, the way the moss grows on it, the way the terrain is. Because it's very easy to be like, you're walking through a mountain pass. It's just a pass. There's a slope. But like, all right, maybe the walls of the mountain jut up around you. Maybe there's jagged rock that's going to fall at any second. You make the terrain more dynamic if you just go out and pay attention. I had the opportunity to travel a bunch last year, and so what I did is in the long drives of just like driving through countryside is I paid attention to the weird countryside I'm seeing, because in the US it fucking varies.
Yeah.
It's insanely different in the Midwest than it is to here, than it is to the Northwest, to the South, whatever.
Yeah.
Paid attention to it, and it has made like the actual places my players are going more interesting.
Yeah. And I imagine that's because you're very good at describing things. You could imitate a lot of stuff. You can make people hear things or see stuff with visual, like a screen or whatever. But if you can like describe to someone how the chill never seems to leave your bones.
Yeah, it causes that ache that seems to
Yeah.
seep down to the very core of you.
Yeah. There's a huge difference between saying someplace is very bright or telling people that your eyes are hurting from how much the sun is reflecting from the white sand.
On that subject, what I like to do is a rule I've lived by since the beginning of DMing is 3 of the 5 senses at any given time. No matter which 3 it is, when you're describing something, engage 3 of them. They might smell and taste something in the air, and then hear something in the distance, but it's too dark and they can't see. And they can't feel because it's just like you're in this clearing in the dark. But something's coming. Engage those senses, no matter what they are.
Yeah. And also along those lines, let yourself be lost in the dark, dark world of Wikipedia scrolling.
Not where I expected that to go!
The more you know about weird topics, the more you could speak accurately towards them. That's just gonna do so much.
You find that if you are a DM for any long enough time and you really get into it, you find that you learn about a lot of subjects you wouldn't expect. I have the benefit of being a craftsperson that makes so many different things. So like when my players want to make something out of leather they scavenged, I actually know what it takes to make it into leather and then turn it into a product. Same is true of like blacksmithing and chainmail and herbalism, and I just know a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's just because of DMing. Because I'm like, all right, well, my player wants to learn this. What does it take? Go Google it. Didn't like this last session, you Googled how much meat yields from a doe.
Yeah.
And now we know it's like 70 pounds.
Yeah.
Because we looked it up.
And even if you like don't know something, just take from what you do.
Yeah.
You don't need to be super learned in wayfinding. Just set your campaign in what you know, and as you encounter things you don't, make it a point to research those things, or at least like read a quick article about them.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, that's a quitter's attitude. You could just get well experienced with wayfinding.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I carry my compass every time I go anywhere. The supermarket, I'm going north to chickpeas.
I'm really, really good. I'm excellent at doing exactly the opposite of what I need to do to get someplace on time. So,
Good to know.
We're getting skilled.
No, yeah, I, in the same vein of looking things up, especially with like bounty board and stuff, I'm sure I'm on some watch list somewhere for
Oh, I
looking up.
guarantee it.
Oh yeah.
The things you
yeah.
end up Googling when you DM.
Oh yeah.
And also,
How long does it take for a body to decay?
and also it could be like failures you've had in your life. Like that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
being able to just like describe to somebody how they feel after they said something really stupid and kind of offensive, and like it just keeps on bugging you. Like that's great for like fleshing out natty ones, especially. It's like, oh man, I'm going to search the way ahead, and I'm gonna find wherever this place is, and I've rolled a natural one. And the DM could be like, well, you're a little busy thinking about that one time you called that one person by her last name, except it was her mother's last name, who was also a terrible person.
I do thoroughly enjoy that you said, and the DM says, and then immediately turned into John Mulaney. Well, you would find something, but you're really thinking about that one time.
I'm gonna stick up to him. Well, what's actually happening is he poured soup in your lap and you apologized.
Oh boy. But yeah, no, drawing from personal experience definitely helps
Yes.
fuel stuff like that.
And don't be afraid to plagiarize jokes. Like, it's a game.
Yeah. If like when we're doing it in a stream, it's a little different.
Yeah.
But you're at home.
Yeah.
You know, you're playing with your friends and your family. Do whatever the fuck you want.
If you have inside jokes that don't work in the campaign, but it works for your players, do it.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Nobody can tell you how best to play when you're at your table,
And
unless they're part of it with you.
one more thing along that line. Don't watch D&D streams and see the DM and think, wow, I could never do that. I can't do that. Because there's no right way to do it. And don't let just the perception of how it should be done stop you from having fun.
And
Yeah.
also, you're a bad bitch and can do whatever the fuck you
Yeah.
want. So,
Put that attitude away.
jot that
At
down.
the end of the day, as long as you and your players are happy and having a good time, whatever you did it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the whole summation of all of this is communication, organization, and god damn it, believe in yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the more you get into it, the more your players will get into it, which will get you more into it. It's a very cyclical thing, so just be all you can be. Don't give a fuck. Don't worry about embarrassing yourself. You're gonna do great, sweetie.
Oh, yeah, embarrassment happens. It's fun, though. It can be fun when you fuck up at the table. Because it's memorable.
Also,
Oh, yeah.
again, like, if you don't know how to DM, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. My first time DMing was a week after I started playing, because my DM was like, I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons in 5 years, and I was like, well, we're not having that now, are we?
84 years.
Listen, I've talked to him. That's an accurate replicant. Wow. Wow. Whoa. Whoa.
Do real good over there.
Accurate representation.
Brendan, I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
And I'm coming for you. I do have a couple in-game. I do have a couple tools I personally have used that I find very useful to help streamline combat a little bit. Mostly for 5e, because I've mostly DM 5e. But, yeah, so This is something I started using. It's a spell slot tracker. The way to go about this is key a value, whatever that is, to each number on the D6, and then just use that to keep track of the health. So like in this scenario I set up, it's a boss fight, they have 5 minions. I'll say, hey, 1 is 20. So this boss has 120 health and all of the minions have 40. And then number 4 gets hit for 20 and now they're at 20 HP. And it's just a very quick way to keep track of health. I also built out a Google Sheet that I started using very recently that is very, very helpful. I'll actually link a template in chat where you can kind of input all of your players' passive perception, investigation, insight, their HP, their AC, their plus to hit, and then there's an enemies tab as well where you can put in little details about them.
Spreadsheets like that can be really useful.
Yes.
I use one too, and it's fantastic. Just being able to know if you want to roll something secretly, like somebody being stealthy, you just cross-reference that to the list of passive perceptions, you know, and then the players don't know why you were rolling. They just see you roll. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to be like, what's your perception? It helps with the intrigue.
That's also a great way to silently rein in players. If stuff's going really wild, just roll a couple d10s.
And smirk.
Yeah. No reason.
Just go.
Ask for a perception check. Don't say anything.
Yeah, all right. All right.
But then also sprinkle a few real ones in there.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. The next person on the tour is ready, and we've used over an hour.
Oh wow.
Oh dang.
We're cool.
Yeah. I mean, we started a little early, but yeah, I'd say let's get the next stop on the train rolling. Lucigen, Stacked, are we good to do?
And thanks everybody. You're awesome.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful Saturday.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sing that song, but have a great day. Are they
Just
still there?
do it.
Are we still talking to people?
They're still there right now.
Oh.
Okay.
So yeah.
We were just gonna keep talking until you told us otherwise.
Have a great day. Now you do Scottish.
Have a great day.
All right, and with that, thanks for stopping by, guys. Make sure to follow us and them and all of them, and have a grand old time with Fishy. I don't know what Fishy's doing offhand, but Fishy's a great person. He's wonderful, and enjoy. Thanks, guys.
And we love you.
Oh wait, we still have 5 seconds. This is awkward. We're walking in the same direction now.
I was really.
Are you going to the lockers too? I was also getting.
Actually, I was gonna go to the bathroom. So you want to join me?
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, sure.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.